have another question for you, sir, because Merce was talking about this when we were interviewing him. He said you and him were kind of together at one point in time,
We were
like in
lovers.
person. No, you
So
guys were in
Mersh
person.
actually told you on your show that he talked about being. I was the guy who.
I thought he was Italian the whole other time, so I don't remember shit from that show. But
That's You really don't. You really
I
weren't
don't.
getting what was happening on that.
Dude, I was so up, I don't even remember
Yeah,
anything.
that
I was
was-
just having fun.
That was actually very embarrassing to watch.
No, I loved every second of it, man.
It was
but
it was hard. It was a hard watch when you kept saying the same things over and over again.
over
dude.
and over again. Trust me. Don't worry. I'll make sure to do that in this one. But my thing is this to you is when you and him were together in person, how was that interacting with him? And
Sexy.
but my thing is, were you kind of passive aggressive towards him in person when you guys were together?
Yeah,
because he kind of bitched about that with you. Like he was kind of trying to assert me
So-
my level with the group.
So Mersh didn't realize I was making fun of Mersh to his face.
Yeah.
Like,
Why
there's-
though? Why would you do that though?
When I met, all right. So, do you know what Hollywood Mersh is? Have you
No.
ever heard that?
No.
So, I came up with this thing, and it was when I met him. Like literally while meeting him, this phrase popped into my head: Hollywood Mersh. And the reason for that was one, I knew he was into wrestling, and I think it kind of probably somewhere in the back of my mind, I knew that Hulk Hogan was called a Hollywood Hogan at one point, so I think it kind of sprang out of that. But he was acting like he was the biggest shot of all time.
Well, he was holding court.
He was
at the
holding
table.
court.
Yeah.
So we met up, and he's trying to be a streamer guy. And the thing that really threw me I liked Mersh. Like, we were internet pals, I guess, before this. The minute I met him, he had bought, he came to New York from Florida. And on his way there at the airport or something, he bought a selfie stick.
Oh, that's a good classic.
And
vibe.
Oh, gee.
That was it. I was out. Well, I mean, that's all it took. He's walking around with the selfie stick, and he's trying to be this big streamer. He thinks he's going to be like a big IRL streamer. And he's like offering to buy people drinks and all
filming
this.
you guys.
And like, I mean, definition of clout chaser, by the way.
Right.
And these are just qualities of a person I dislike. Now, I didn't know it fully then. I hadn't gotten this through my head, but there's this thing called the Mersh effect where Mersh tries to wine and dine other adult men
I loved him.
into becoming his friend, which he's done to you.
I was a huge fan.
You are part
that
of the
show.
Mersh effect. And
Yeah.
it's not your fault. Like, I don't hate the Mersh effect guy. I
I think he's a great guy.
Exactly. Of course you
seemed
do.
Nice. He seemed nice.
But here's the thing. He's
What?
nice as long as you're useful to him.
Or you're hammered.
Or, well, I mean, he was kind of making fun of you, really. But the Mersh is only on your side if you are fully loyal to him.
Right.
And I talked to Frank Hassel about this because Mersh very famously tried to do this with Frank Hassel. He went on this like meltdown tirade about how he offered Frank Hassel to buy him steaks and get him. I don't know. He seemed to think he had some sort of access to stuff that a normal human being doesn't have access to that he could give to Frank Hassel, and tried to get him to hang out with him when Frank was in Florida. And I saw that while it was happening live. And I'm like, dude, just fucking say you want to hang out with Sam Hyde. Like, it's pathetic what you're doing. You're trying to leapfrog from
You
one
said
guy
this
to
at the
another.
table?
No, I'm saying I said this in my head when he was trying to do it to Frank Hassel. And I talked to Frank about it, and Frank was like, yeah, I just instantly picked up that this guy is trying to start a relationship with me. He was like, I mean, Mersh does to other adult men what you do to a woman to court them.
Right.
And so, and I'm sure I can't remember what he said when he was on your show or whatever about me, but he's said this a million times. His line about me is, when I met up with Jesse, I mean, number one, this dude was sitting there drinking a Dr. Pepper. I mean,
Yeah.
and he's doing his dainty little weird finger hands. And this whole thing about this Dr. Pepper, like, I'm literally drinking a Dr. Pepper right now. Okay. This joke about the Dr. Pepper number one, it's partially it's a cope because Mersh is a horrific alcoholic and drug addict.
Rest in peace. Yeah.
And he does this thing where he's like, I don't trust people who don't do drugs. It's like, yeah, well,
Yeah.
I call me crazy. I might be the odd man out here. I personally believe that maybe the least trustworthy person is the drug addict. That might be me. The guy who's never done drugs. Maybe I'm just biased in some way, but I feel like it's a pretty common stereotype
assumption.
Yeah, that a drug addict is untrustworthy. But that's his cope. And then this thing about like, oh, I was sitting there drinking Dr. Pepper. Well, Mersh invited me out to a bar,
right?
Knowing I don't drink. He already knew that about me. I told him like, hey man, I don't.
So he's already trying to like assert some type of like dominance over you to some extent, or make you look like a bitch.
No, here's what happened. I get there. I'm instantly clocking him for being this like guy who thinks he's making it, in internet Hollywood. Because he's got me there. He's got Carl, the streamer Carl is there. And then he thinks like this is a big wheeling and dealing thing. He takes us to this rooftop bar. That's what you do to a girl. I felt
I'm hit, bro.
I feel like I was being raped. Like I was being like, even if I did drink, I would not allow him to buy me a drink. I'd be holding my drink like this the whole time, because I'm going to be date raped by this guy. We're at a rooftop bar. He's got all his little streamer buddies. All these guys show up.
They're all on his nuts.
This is the real truth of that story. This thing about me drinking a Dr. Pepper. It's all on video. I streamed the whole thing making fun of Mersh. You can see me in the video. I'm drinking water. Here's what actually happened. Mersh, twice, he took us to a rooftop bar. Then he took us to, I found this out after the fact. I think he took us to the bar that like Anthony Cumia hangs out at. Hot.
Yeah.
So like he wanted
far right, buddy.
He wanted to like hang out at Cumia's place. And at both places, Mersh offered to buy me a Dr. Pepper. And both times I said, no, I'm good, thanks. I'll just get a water for me. One of those times is on video. You can see me ordering the water from the poor waitress who was having to deal with Mersh's bizarre being.
Right.
So this whole thing, he's sitting there drinking a Dr. This is a fantasy he came up with. And I only have realized this very recently because I am yet another in a long line of women who have rejected him. Mersh attempted to take me on a date. I said, no, thank you. He tried to get me drunk when I said no. I said, no, thank you again. And this is what he does with man after man. He does this with women too. I've had some of his attempted lovers on the show before, and they say all the same things. They went through the same experience as me. And this is what anybody who watches my show and has seen the Mersh stuff knows, is every single time Mersh talks about me, it is in this bizarre gay way. He always says that I treat him like I'm a jilted lover. But then 2 seconds later, the next sentence will be that he's like, he literally one time said if it was between me and Blair White, he would rather fuck me. He said that. That's on camera.
And so you dissed him in public though, right? With the group around. How did he receive that?
Here's the thing. I teased him, and I didn't hate him. I teased him for acting cringe, and I did it in the way that you would do that to a friend.
Right. You're fucking roasting with your buds. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, you fuck with them.
100%. There was no part of me that was like there was an animosity or whatever.
Right.
I was openly doing it to his face, though. I couldn't believe he didn't get this.
So he's not a boy. He's just like he's like he took that offensively like a bitch would.
No, what ends up happening is later on, I continued being fine with him, and then later on, I did a parody of his show, and he couldn't handle it. I made fun of his show. I made fun of Revenge of the Sis. By the way, I did both him and Royce simultaneously. I was doing an impression of both of them, but they both did not take it well. But Mersh had a big baby freak out about it. He tried to shut down his entire Discord from being able to watch Pod Awful after that. He said he used the phrase, give him nothing,
Yes.
which then became like a meme.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't believe his reaction to it. Now, what he'll say is that I did that because I was mad he had Dick Masterson on his show. And I was mad he had Dick Masterson on his show. But it was more specific than that.
Right.
Dick Masterson, I got kicked off of Patreon because of Dick Masterson. Dick Masterson told his fans to report my Patreon because I had used the N-word. And I have been banned from Patreon since 2016. It was, by the way, I was making all of my money off of Patreon back then.
Right.
So I lost my job because of this dude. There's a guy.